And thank you once again. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Thank you for your time. And thank you for sharing all the stories. So we are live now. Let's wait for a few more seconds for people to join. And who's the most excited? It's funny. Rivka, in terms of distance, is the closest to me, but the time lag between what I'm saying is the largest.
Oh, wow. Is that funny?
So, yeah. So we have Rajni joining in from India. I'm going by distance. So
we're in India.
I'm currently in Kerala, Cochin.
Yeah. Carolina is joining from Argentina. Diana is joining from Seattle. And Rivka is joining from Woodstock, New York.
There we go.
Yes.
Carolina, where in Argentina are you?
In Buenos Aires.
Okay, got it. I have this need to know where people are. I don't know what that's about. Okay. I don't know why, but I do.
You know, Rivka, what I'm curious about, what's in people's fridge? So you are doing better than me.
What?
I am curious about what's in people's fridge.
Of course you are, because you love to cook. All right, so right now in my fridge, there's everything, because the minute there's going to be even a snowflake, wine store and grocery store, you got to hit them, right? And hit them hard.
So, but then it's a very Indian thing as well, you know. So when I've heard, I'm sure Purnima must have experienced this as well. When you have relatives talking, so like after about 2 minutes, the automatic question was, "Acha, what have you made for dinner tonight?" Or "What have you made for lunch tonight?" That's like a standard that you have to ask people. So I think we're very centered around you.
So my best friend is from Mumbai, and I'm raised by a Jewish mother. So we always joke, like, how many seconds can you be in each other's houses before you're fed, right? I can tell you, I just ate, I'm driving your house, but I literally just went to lunch. It will not matter. I will go there and I will have to eat again.
Yes.
Forget it. It doesn't matter what
I personally love that, because I love
it
food.
too.
It's just like, yes, bring it on.
Yeah. So let's get, if you have already joined us, just make sure that you are using the comment section, because we can't see, we are live on different channels, so we can't really see everybody here. So if you're here, just go in comments and say hi. And okay. And with that, I just remembered who is not here. Sheetal is not here. That's why it feels so empty. I'm trying to remember who did not join.
I guess you can blame a Google emergency on that one.
Hi, Isis. I hope I am pronouncing it correct. Isis. Nice to see you. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, we are going to go around in circle, and feel free to comment also if you are viewing us from the other side of the screen, whatever that means, which is, do you do any planning at all? Is it like your ritual to do planning? Then tell me about, how do you plan your finances, if you do? And have you ever used the concept of emotional planning? And do you give enough importance to your emotional planning? So who wants to get started?
I can go.
Diana, thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm just gonna share my planning, the way how I'm seeing the things for next year, and I'm gonna share my personal goals. So I'm mainly planning to focus on to build identical capital in the first place. Building identical capital means to be a little bit more innovative, to believe a little bit more in myself, to commit to my goals, and also to be creative in a new way, because it's like with everything happening around the world, I think we need to go outside of the box and just be more innovative. And just stick to all of this and try to do whatever it's necessary to finish and to achieve the goals. In probably the mid of the next year, I'm planning to start a new business, and I'm extremely focused on this. I'm sure I can do it, and I'm sure I have the right plan to do it. The only thing is, like, I need to plan, but at the same time, I need to stay very open-minded, very creative, and very adaptable, because this is something that we learned this year, that nothing is certain, and we need to be able to adapt as quickly as we can to be able to achieve our goals. And something more specific that I have been doing this year and has been working incredibly well is I have a goal, but this goal is, let's say, for the year. Then I make a plan what I'm doing to achieve this goal for the first half of the year. Then I chop this down to 3 months, and then to each month. And each month is separated by weeks. And each week, I'm working on something related to the goal, and I'm trying to celebrate pretty much any achievement, because there's no such a thing, a small achievement. So each achievement is like a very positive imprint for my brain that gives me the stimulus and the good hormone release to be able to continue on. And this is actually has been working really well, and it's really easy to use the small steps to climb up the ladder and achieve your goal.
I love that. I love that concept. It's very inspiring. I don't know if I'll be able to do that ever, but I like it. I like on concept level. I love it, and I love that you can do it. Hi, Sheetal. Nice to have you here.
Sorry, I was totally on. I messed up the time zone. I was thinking there's 4 hours. Sorry. Very sorry.
No, don't worry. I guessed that, and that's why I was trying to send you a message. But while sending message, I was worried that if I went to Facebook, I'll lose the stream here, and then everything will go away. You know how it is. Who wants to? So, Sheetal, just to update you, we are talking same way that we usually do. We are going in the circle and talking about, do you do planning at all? And if you do financial planning, what do you do for your planning your finances? And if you are aware of the concept of emotional planning, and if you do it and how you do it. And everyone else also who have joined us as on the other side of the screen, please say hi here and let us know how do you do your planning and what do you do for your planning. We would love to hear your ideas. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
I don't mind.
Oh, you go ahead. Go ahead, Carolina. Go.
Okay. I wanted to go next because I'm the exact opposite of what Diana just said. I have no plan. I am terrible at planning. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this conversation, because I would really like to, I guess that's one of my plans. I'd really like to get better at planning. That's one of my goals for next year. Usually I just have kind of vague concepts of what I would like to happen in the next year and some idea of how to go about doing that. But this year I have much more concrete goals that I would like to accomplish in the year. And so I would like to create a plan, just like Diana said, with like steps and what I'm going to be working on each week. And usually I'm quite averse to that kind of thing because it feels like a lot. Even when I break it up into little goals, it just feels like a lot. And I don't know, something emotional in me is kind of trying to not commit to anything, because what if it doesn't go right, and what if I can't accomplish it? And so I'd rather just have something be vague in the distance than actually have concrete things. But I know that the opposite, doing it like that is probably going to increase the chances that I will actually be able to accomplish it. So I'd like to work on releasing these emotional blocks that I have towards these kinds of plans. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is that over the last, and financially also never plan, never have a budget. And so that's a huge goal for me as well, is to be much more intentional about that. And emotionally, 2 years ago, I started setting intentions for the year, which that has definitely really helped me a lot. And just having just one word that be my intention, and that turns out to be kind of like a mantra or something throughout the year, or whenever I'm working with something, I remember that's it just helps me, call on that to be able to accomplish certain things throughout the year. So that has been working very well.
That's such a beautiful, you brought something to my mind, which is even something like having a vision board is also a kind of planning, because you are framing up your vision of the future, and it's like right brain versus left brain kind of planning, and we need to do both of those.
Absolutely.
So unknowingly you are doing planning, but you need to do other kind of planning also. And I am very well aware of those mental blocks, and those mental blocks I think are the ones that refrain me from doing like Diana's, every month planning, because it's just too tough. But yes, that is inspiring, Diana, and I'm going to go towards that. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next, since we're going in a circle. A counterclockwise circle.
Thank you.
It's one of the things when Carolina was talking, when I said, oh, what prompted her to make more concrete goals? Like, what happened? And then you reeled back and you're like, I started setting intentions. And I'm very curious, by the way, what inspired that setting of intentions. Like, I come at things from a right brain too. And one of my favorite furniture makers, he's brilliant. He never uses even a measuring tape. He carries around a piece of string. And he appears as the most left-brained person you've ever met, but he has zero left brain at all. And he just does everything with like this piece of string, and then he goes back into his workshop. And so I come at that too. And that's where I think the magical thinking happens. It's where confidence happens. And one of the things about the pandemic that I think is a really amazing thing is that we don't allow ourselves abstract time a lot. You're going from one thing to another, and you're going from literally from place to place all of the time. And just being alone in your head sort of allows that right brain thinking to bloom. And I think that's where invention comes from. So to prepare for this, I decided to talk to my financial advisor right before this call. And I asked him at the outset, so, he's very, buttoned down and everything at Merrill Lynch. And I specifically, there's two of them, there's a team, there's a man and a woman team. And I was like, I actually want like the male, like the whole white boy male, like he's very left brain. And I told him at the outset of this call, I want you to tell me what drove me by the end of this call, right? Was it emotion? Was it like usual thing? Anyway, so I realized like that my financial planning is entirely emotional. I mean, entirely. So I think there are really good things about this. And he gave me his statistics. He said that women are much better investors because they never risk everything. Once you have a child, you never risk everything. There's like this place, like come near me, like there will be a certain amount that will be for my daughter, and you can pry it from my cold, dead hands, but I will never change that, right? So that's the first emotion, right? And she's a junior in college. So there's all of the emotional planning. And then there was, I've had all this time to think during the pandemic, and, my writing goals are now much more front and center. And I want to, I'm in the cybersecurity business, so we're very busy. And so then it actually occurred to me, like, if it goes really well, I mean, if the world really just goes totally to hell, like I could actually retire in a couple of years, right? So these are all, so he ends the call and he's like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing for what you're about to do, but you are an entirely emotional financial planner. And I think that's a good thing. I said, you say that like it's a bad thing. He's like, it's not a bad thing. It's just, you need to check in more. This is what he told me. Just check in every 3 months, because emotional planners, emotions change. Rather than a half yearly call or a yearly call. So that is what I would like to impart. I was like, that wasn't even a backhanded compliment. That was a warning to, check in a lot when you're an emotional planner, but that you will if you become methodical and apply a little more of what Deanna does, that the emotional planners, you know, can have a better time, maybe. I don't know. But I'm actually having fun doing the emotional planning because it is. And so to me, planning, you got to plan. I think depression sets in for me if I don't plan. If I don't have something that I'm working on, if it's totally by the winds, and even if it's an abstract thing, you know, that I want to have this or that, and I don't fill it in because Caroline, I don't fill in things either. And I think that gives you more room to pivot when things do go bad or they change. Mm-hmm. But not planning is sort of doubting yourself, I think. Mm-hmm. So, and I think especially for women, a lot of women are like, do I have a right to plan? Do I have a right to want this? Yes. And so planning is fun and you know, if it all goes to hell, you'll start over again.
Thank you, Rivka. Thank you. That was really amazing. And I actually, you know, like I do call myself very balanced right brain and left brain person. Like my both brains are 100% active to their capacity. I don't know what's their capacity, but I do believe in emotional planning. And I do believe that people who say they're not doing emotional investing are actually emotional investing. Like, why would you invest in companies that you like? That is emotional investment. And like there are books written on this because, you know, you are the person who is understanding it clearly that you are an emotional investor. There are a lot of people who would say they're trusting numbers, but actually are doing it emotionally. So you're smarter. And yes, you know, a lot of us do procrastinate, and it is a larger form of procrastination. And thank you for pointing that out, that yes, as we do have a right to plan and to achieve, and if it doesn't work out, there's always a next year.
Yep.
Next month.
Right. And procrastinate, by the way, is a word that I don't like, and it might be because I'm a procrastinator. So just, you know, that disclaimer goes right up front there. But sometimes things are percolating, okay? And our culture does not allow for percolating. It doesn't. It's like the same thing with the sloth on your desk. You're not doing anything, so I must be procrastinating. And it horrified me when I heard my daughter say this. She's like, I'm procrastinating. I was like, wait a minute. Weren't you just on classes all day and you just finished a project? Maybe you're recuperating. And maybe you're procrastinating something because it's not quite baked in that right brain. It's not ready. You know, you're tasting it a little bit, but the dish isn't done. And so that word I think is a dangerous word. Yeah. Deserve and procrastinate are words that I find are slippery slopes.
Yep.
For whatever that's worth.
Yes. Yep. And we will come back to those words. You know, as a facilitator, I do take an advantage and react immediately, but we will come back to it and react it together to all those important things. Rajni, would you like to go next?
Sure. So it's very strange because I heard Diana speak first, and it's like, oh, I'm a little bit like that. And then I heard Carolina speak, and I said, yes, I'm exactly like that. And then I heard Rivka speak, and it's like, oh, maybe I'm a little bit like that. So, well, there goes my thoughts on like what kind of planner I am. But to be honest, actually, it's been very tough to plan individually because I've been so used to planning as a team. So it's always been my husband and me, and we've been planning together always. For ages, we've been planning together. So, you know, we've kind of now settled into roles where, like, you know, certain things that something that he would take care of, and certain things I would take care of. And yes, I am more of the emotional planner. So I would say, right, we need this, and come on, this is what we need to do. And he would kind of say, it's like, hang on, think, do we really need this? And yeah, I mean, we always have this argument, but it's I think it's a good thing because it's always a little bit of give and take, and both of us get to see different perspectives of how we view the same thing. Even something as simple as, for example, I mean, if you're investing in something like a television, and the kind of diverse views we get in the way we approach it is so different that like everything becomes kind of like, oh, okay, you could possibly see that way as well, and you could possibly see this way as well. So I think we all grow more if we have a kind of sounding who's slightly different from us. And that's what Arun is for me, and that's what I am for Arun. Arun being my husband. And in terms of, I think I'm more of, I would say I'm more of a go with the flow kind of person. I do have a plan, like you say, I would probably have right, for example, I would probably say, right, I need to kind of set this much money aside, this percentage of my income aside. But, and I would have a broad budget, but at the same time, I won't then get into the nitty gritty. I can only spend this much today and I can only spend this much tomorrow. I would, as long as I'm not breaking the bank or I'm not going overboard over a particular budget, I kind of give myself the freedom to play around with it a little bit in terms of both what I want to spend the money on, how I want to spend it, and also how much I kind of want to invest or risk.
Yeah.
But yes, you are right, Rivka. Once we have children in the picture, there is a sum of money that is literally untouchable. We will not touch that, come what may. That is not to be messed with. That is not to be messed with. And yes, that does come in because yeah, I mean, and the pandemic does teach us that, doesn't it? Because like tomorrow you may lose your job. Tomorrow you may not have the financial security that you have, and kids still need to be fed. Kids still need to go to university. They still need to have their needs met. So yeah, that doesn't get touched.
Yeah. Thank you, Rajni. And I want to bring so we are talking about financial planning and emotional planning. We are not talking about yes, we are also talking about emotional planning of our finances, but I want to make
Yep.
sure we are talking about that, yes, we are budgeting and making, sure that we are meeting our financial goals and everything. Going back to Rivka's comment, is building while we are planning all these things to make the money and save the money, we are making room for ourselves. We are having things like vision boards, we are having things like abstract time to procrastinate, without, because it's easily understood word, I'm using it, and we are going to go back and find a better word for it when we talk about it. Sheetal, I have been waiting forever to hear you.
Oh my God. Sorry, ladies. First, apologies for the delay. And then I'm texting my kids because I told them, come down for, lunch. I have this 1 hour before I get online at 11 o'clock. So everything is like all over the place. But I have been, for me, there's two types of financial planning that I really have to do. One is the home, personal part of planning, which like Rajni, my husband and I, are together in that part of it. And mostly he does it. I just say yes or no, really. Like, and we do have a financial advisor. We do, visit them 2-3 times a year, and it's a really good. I think it's a really good investment that we have done in a financial advisor. We do get to go sit down, look at an overview, and it really he shows different aspects of the finances that sometimes we miss out on, right, when we are just doing it. So the home personal finances is mostly my husband, and 200% trust. So whatever he says, I'm like, okay, great. But as an individual, I run 2 businesses, so I have to do a lot of financial planning. But like earlier this year in January, we have our the budget blinds. I have 2 franchises, so we have a convention, and I met my mentor. I sat down, I set goals, financial goals for every month, for every end of the year, for how much do I have to do every day, how much do I have to make every day to get everything detailed out, nice Excel sheets, everything. And I shut down in March. I shut down for 3 months, March, April, May, completely shut down, zero. The only gain in that time was my time spent with my boys at home. So, that was good. But it really, it completely messed up my planning. But then I had to redo it because I had the next 6 months to do whatever I could. Now I have learned this year that, yeah, it's great to do financial planning if you think this is how things are going to go. Dream life, everything is great, dream sales. But then I think you also need to add a column that says, what if this doesn't happen? We need to have a plan B. And because it was an emotional upheaval, financial upheaval, so many things. I have employees, and so I think planning is great. We all should plan, but we really need to have a plan B in place also, because I didn't think of it. I really didn't think of it this year. And the 3 months that I was closed, it made me create a plan B. What if I shut down? What if I can't pay my employees? What if it never reopens? We don't plan for these things. So that was the big eye opener for me, and it definitely affected me emotionally. And like I think one of you said that where you invest is also an emotional decision, right? So I'm very much involved in my business. So what was happening with it financially was very much affecting me. So yeah, we can do everything that we should or we want to, but you never know.
Which is also part of the planning, which is, they say plan is nothing, planning is everything. So in planning itself, building that flexibility and adaptability, what if scenarios, what if everything goes wrong, and then what you do is having that plan B, plan C, and it's okay to have till plan Z, and just having. So with I was Dana was here, and she wasn't sure if if she had things to share or not. So I was talking to her about that and got a little distracted. So does any one of you have any questions, reactions? We can.
No, so that's the other thing that you were talking about, right, Purnima? So when you're talking about emotional planning, I think that also comes as part of the emotional planning. What happens when your financial plans don't go to plan, right? Do you have an emotional plan for that? And that's so important because that's the most important thing, because once you are there mentally, if you think you're able to handle anything, then the financial ups and downs will come and they will go, but you have the confidence in yourself to say, right, we will handle that. But emotionally, if you've not planned for preparing for that scenario of the what if, financial what if, then I think it all then kind of backfires.
I think here it's very important that we don't just get lost by the circumstances that are happening around the world. We just need to be extremely adaptable, and just to continue to develop and try new strategies and do our best. And the same time, it's like this is simply to say, but it's much harder to do, because our brains are used to do familiar things, and our brain always reach out to things that are familiar to it, and it's much easier to do. And going outside of the box and thinking a little bit different and doing stuff that we don't usually do, we feel uncomfortable, and it's totally normal. But the moment we step out and we do something that we're uncomfortable, I see, at least for myself, I see huge results. And I think sometimes we just need to push ourselves a little bit more, take this extra step, and just have more achievement.
Yep.
Also, something, Carolina, you said you had more concrete goals. And sometimes, and I know I'm a word person, okay, so occupational hazard, but when you have plan B and plan C, and weirdly, for being so right brain, I have like plan double Z. Okay, like I plan and then I have backup and backup and backup. But one of the things I found is when something fails, it's actually a great time to go for a new goal. Okay, mm-hmm. So I'm a firm, this is my mantra. You can learn anything you want in 3 months. You can learn a new skill in 3 months. And sometimes, in our parents' era, okay, My father was a structural engineer, and he said, in the back of my little arsenal of things, I can lay bricks because, I was born in 1930, right? And when things go to hell, you have this backup skill thing. And, I think this is really good for women because we're multidimensional. Like, think of all the interests you have that you've never pursued, right? Whether it's a language that then you can go be a translator for a while, or it's whatever it is, one of your goals that, okay, now's the time. All right. There was 3 months of absolute, the world was the great pause, right? That's a great time to learn something new and not beat yourself up, right? Because that might be the only thing to do is to go learn something new. And I just think that we should allow ourselves that. And it's hard. It's like and young women know this in space. Oh, right. I just lost a job and I should take that vacation I always wanted to take, but I can't until I have another job because I'm too stressed out. Oh, I got this other job. They wanted me to start yesterday. It'll be another 20 years before I take that vacation. That's the hardest thing. I've never been able to do that well because unless I'm secure in what I'm doing, I don't allow myself that time and that relaxation because I'll be too uptight worrying about why I don't have a job. And I think this is a huge battle for us. And it's definitely a huge battle for me. But one of the things that I think this pandemic offers is just like, go learn one new skill, even if your plan A is working, pursue another goal. Why not? The next time the world goes to hell, it might be good. Even if you never use it now, like something you're interested in, like allow yourself to be interested. I'm really curious, Caroline, like what your goals are that suddenly, I just really am.
Yeah. So to answer your first question about what made me switch from or to be able to start setting intentions. So that was because I used to do what everybody did and have like New Year's resolutions, and that never, ever, ever worked for me. And so I read somewhere an article about intentions. I'm like, oh, that's a great different way to do it. And so I started doing that, and that was definitely super helpful. And one of the first intentions, or the first intention that I set that first year, was just the word courage. And so that really helped me throughout the year call on that courage whenever I needed it. And it was several years of lots of learning more about myself and all of this personal growth and emotional growth. And I think that that's what allowed me to be able to set more concrete goals now. And so to answer your second question about what my goals are, one of them specifically is that this year I relaunched a business that I had, like a side business of branding. And so a concrete goal that I have next year is to grow that business and have a consistent stream of clients coming in. So that's something that I can certainly create a plan for, and that I have a plan for. And then I also have specific financial goals associated with that, but also generally like for life, because I started thinking much more about the future, about my future with my daughter. Because before I was very much kind of intuitively kind of just going about life and not really thinking too much about the future. I was also married, and so that was also part of it was planning with him, and now I'm planning on my own. So I'm creating. Now that I'm not married, I'm creating plans on my own. So all of those changes allowed me to grow a lot and be able to set these more concrete goals, and now be prepared to create specific plans that also match with my personal style, that's more intuitive and more on the creative side, and not so much like spreadsheets and things like that. So trying to try different things to see the ones that fit best with my lifestyle.
Absolutely. Dana just joined us, and Dana, would you like to share about you said you want to share about emotional planning and not financial planning. Would you like to say something?
So yeah. So I'm having a crazy year. Everybody is, right? And I've had to pivot. Not to avoid life, but pivot to face my life. Right before lockdown, my husband passed. So for our families having a lot of challenges, it's me and my son. So I'm really, I have a lot of experience in like fitness and working out. So for me, that's the one thing that's really helped me get through this whole year. Even if it's doing it on my own time. The other things that I had to do has been like what Rivka had said is learning new things and learning new skills. So while I've been in lockdown, I've just been focusing on, getting my certifications. I've gotten 3 since, before April, because I had the time. I lost my jobs, so I'm not working still. But learning new skills has really helped me keep going right now. And so for 2021, since April, I'm starting a new career because that's the choice I have. So I'm really happy to hear her say, 3 months to learn a new skill. I'm like, okay, I'm on it. So, but yeah, for 2021, I'm setting, my schedule every day, which is something I've never done. I'm kind of a fly, I kind of just go with the flow every day. So, but now for 2021, I'm just suddenly like, I have my schedule. I'm getting up at 8. I have a regular pattern that I've never done before. So, but yeah, I'm setting, making sure I have my schedule every day, journaling every day, working out. I'm also eating differently. So nutrition's become really important to me and my family. So I'm trying to learn about that as well. So hopefully that's enough.
I would say that any effort towards either of the side is enough. Making an effort is important. How much you make it is not that important. Sheetal, why so quiet today?
No, I'm listening. This is really good. Everybody's talking, taking turns. I do want to share something though. Um, I did in those 3 months and the months that followed it, I did to Rivka's suggestion, I did learn a lot. I did so much training because I'm in a business of, where you can keep learning products. You just have to keep updated. And I actually did do 2 certifications, which are helping me now. So I think that is a perfect. I did not, I forgot to talk about it, but when she brought it up, it really made a difference. The time that I used, I was exhausted doing everything online, online, online. It was supposed to be like, in school training, but the end of it, it is really helping me with the newer sales, the newer people that I meet with. I'm like, oh, you're certified, oh great. It definitely has made a difference. So if you think you have the time, there's so much to learn. I mean, my husband he's constantly learning, so he pushes me like, do this course, do this course, do this course. And so I think that's very important. And improvising yourself, I think, is going to lead to improvise your finances eventually. So
Yeah. A footnote for everything that Sheetal said. It's like our day has 24 hours and Sheetal's day seems like it has 48. So he lives like 200%.
Okay, so my best friend and I had a big fight the other day on creative, and this is like how we work together. So my husband had to get into it to resolve it, and he's like, "You have to understand, Sheetal. She does 5 things at the same time, so you have to let her be because it's hard to understand it." And I just looked at him like, "Oh, he totally gets it. He never said it to me." So that is how I have those many hours because it's like what do you call it? Not simultaneous. There is a concurrently. There's things happening concurrently at the same time. So thank you. And I just want to say, Dana, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yes, yeah, Dana. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dana, this is actually, I'm very, very touched by your story because I think it's very, very important to really reflect on this year and use our time and kind of sort out all those projects and those like classes that we have been putting on hold for sometimes when we have time to take or to learn new skill. And it's very important that now when we have all the time in the world, we just use it wisely and just improve ourselves, developing in new skills, or finish that project that we never finished before. And Ravika, this is like extremely important to stay present and to be able to use that time, because it's like, it's incredible. We have like entire year for free on our own, and it's like up to us what we're gonna do out of it. We can just sit and cry in the corner, or we can just get ourselves together and achieve new goals.
Also, I think the structure of learning something new, it's uplifting. Like you'll probably meet one new person. It really combats depression too. And, just hearing, I was also really touched by your story, because I would fall. Oh, I just said that. And there's this beautiful red cardinal right outside my window. It's really beautiful. I think birds are a great sign. So, just as it's as red as Purnima's gorgeous earrings, which I tried to compete with today, not so well. But
your red wall, I'm admiring it.
But it can be like you're just in the position you're in. I could just grab a bottle of wine and chocolates and be there for 3 months and Netflix, and that would also be totally reasonable, right? So, but when you learn something new, it's like you're remembering your teenage self. There's something really playful about it, and I think that it can be really helpful, just in that way, just to have fun and not underestimate the power of playfulness. So when you choose something to learn, like I would choose something playful to start with, And by the way, that learn anything in 3 months, that 3 months is for guys. So you're going to be quicker.
Good point, Rivka. Good point. Good point. It was the best point of the entire conversation. Like, forget all this smart stuff that we're talking about. You can do everything faster and better and cheaper.
And concurrently.
I do want to, if you have a couple more minutes, Purnima, if you have a couple more minutes, I do want to share something that I learned this year. So this year, I live in Minnesota, and there is a India Association of Minnesota, which, is a big organization. It's a nonprofit. And I was volunteering on the COVID relief fund committee. And so we were, reviewing what funds are coming in, what funds we are giving out. And we had assignments done to a lot of different, segments. There was food, and there was PPE, and there was individual, there was students. And one that I realized when we were reviewing all the individual applications is people were applying for as little as $300, $400. And they didn't have money. We have delivered groceries to their house. So one thing I very strongly realized, the big section of society, like a big part, and they don't do financial planning. They don't have any money at all. Like 3 months in the pandemic, there was no money, no savings. People lost jobs, and then they had no backup. So I think, we talked about what we do, but I think, Purnima, as something to think about is just creating awareness on how important financial planning is, could be a really important topic of discussion, because I don't know if many people just miss out. And that's what I was really surprised. I was really surprised with what I was looking at. I'm like, oh, I need a thing for $300. And I'm like, I'm not looking down on anybody that you don't have $300, but it's a problem that you don't have $300. Right? You have kids in the house, you have a family, you have no job, and you have no money. And it's not just one or two, there were hundreds of them.
Yeah.
So Purnima, at this point, I'd like to add that that's one thing that I, from this year onwards, both my husband and me have decided to budget. Actually, is that we will give a certain portion. We budgeted actually for charity. We hadn't done that before. It used to be very impulsive, as in when it came. But this year onwards, every month we've actually set aside some money for charity that we think needs to be given. And I think that's trickled down to our children as well, because I was asking my son what he wanted for Diwali, and he said, actually, I don't need anything. Why don't you just set the money that you've set aside for my gift and just add that to the charity pot?
Yeah.
So I think it does trickle down to people as well. It does trickle down to the family as well. As in, we
Absolutely.
didn't tell him anything. We just used to kind of budget now for, because obviously there were a lot of people in India as well, the daily wage workers, the people who used to come, like our cleaning ladies who used to come home. They're not allowed to come home anymore, but that doesn't mean that, like, I mean,
Yeah.
they couldn't work, so money obviously used to go to their accounts. They hits their accounts irrespective of whether they came home or not, and so on and so forth. A lot of people did that, but that helped us realize that we absolutely need to budget for charity,
Yep.
and
And
because we need to.
yeah, Rajni, a few points to Sheetal and Rajni both. So when we need to think about financial planning slightly differently also, which is what is your need? It doesn't always have to be about the money that you have and money you should save or money you should invest. It's also about what are your financial goals you are setting.
Yeah.
What are you doing to meet those goals? And to your point, Rajni, I think in the US, it actually government makes it easier for us to set some budget aside because we get tax benefits for charity. So all of us have to do it. You
Yeah.
know, if you're making slightly more than you're living, then you have to keep on giving money to donations. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
But also, it's such a big country, in terms of what all of you have said, sort of about tithing and giving and making sure or realizing that people have no money. One of the things I think, too, to pass to our children, which is beautiful that your son didn't want anything from Diwali, because he's doing something intuitively that I'm really impressed by, that can be kind of fun, is what do we really need? I have not bought new clothing in a year. It's the weirdest thing, right? So do we really need it? So in terms of budgeting, just for fun even, like, it's kind of refreshing to know what you actually don't need, right? And what you are just happy without. Because if we pass that to our kids as well, then they also grow up with a different sensibility that will help them with financial goals, right? Because when you realize that you need probably a third of what we were actually doing all the time, okay? I mean, I hate to tell you how much I save just not getting my turmeric hot shots in Starbucks every day. I mean, it's frightening, right? So, but that there's abundance to be had in sort of paring down, just even in terms of, wow, you know what? It's like, how much less food did you waste? Fernanda will like this because it gets back to what we have in our fridge, right? By actually using leftovers and not going out all the time and not just assessing that. It's been sort of, I don't know. I can't even explain why, but oddly comforting to me. That yeah.
I just want to share.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Deanna.
I just want to share something very similar to Shetel's story. It's like I got on board with small businesses this year and just tried to make different strategies to overcome the year. And I was blown away. People they don't plan on anything. They just live day to day. They take the amount of money they made today and they just move on for tomorrow. And I'm like, you can't just survive, no matter how small or how big is your business. You cannot just survive day to day. You have to plan ahead, and you have to be able to have at least 6 months in a budget to survive without do anything, because day to day it's obviously not working. And this is why majority of the businesses are failing right now. They don't have backup plan. They're just waiting for
when there's abundance, they spend it instead of saving.
Yes.
That's the other thing, because it's almost like a relief. This is what I mean by what do we need, because we treat ourselves with material things. The people I know that live hand to mouth, when money comes in, they're like, wait, stop, put that somewhere, because then you won't be as stressed out next time, right? And that is so finding the joy in everything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's a societal. Carolina will 100% agree with me on this one. It is, the corporations and politics have created the structure for us wherein we always want something. We always want something that we don't really need. and we just we feel that that thing is going to bring us happiness by buying it.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
basic principle
It's,
that
I have been trying.
go ahead.
Sorry, I have to explain to my kids that there's difference between want and need. It's like those two words are not the same. They have completely different meaning. And just because you want it doesn't mean that you really need it. And like 2 days later, they're like, forget about the toy or the book or whatever it's that they have wanted it. So if you don't need it, then you don't need it. Don't invest your money on this. Just move on and invest them in something more meaningful. And this is, Ravika, this is really a great year to reflect on ourselves and see that not everything that we want we really need.
Yeah.
Because like with the clothes,
And
we
actually,
so much
use the time to create something. Create something.
Yes.
Like, what can you create? Because there's time to create things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so instead of wanting them, instead of consuming them,
Yes.
like everyone is saying that we're so conditioned to do, create something instead.
Yeah. And that condition is mindfully created for us. Like, we need to get smarter than the system and recognize that all these attractions are created for someone else to make lots of money.
Yeah.
And that we don't need to make them rich.
Right.
It's the way how the system works.
And
So
also one thing I wanted to add as well, while we're planning what we're going to invest in our money in and our time in the new year, I'd really think about investing, like actually planning to invest time and perhaps even money in personal growth and in things like whether it's going to therapy consistently, whether it's reading books that help you understand more about yourself, because that also helps with this what we were just talking about, knowing the difference between your needs and your wants, and emotional investing and all these different things. That helps you really get a much better understanding of how you particularly work and what works for you and what you want and what you need, and have that be much clearer. And that certainly helped me a lot over the last few years, which is why I'm now able to set more concrete goals and start planning a little bit more. They're little baby steps, but it definitely makes a huge difference. So I would really encourage people to actually make an intentional investment of time and money, whether it's courses or, for instance, I took a money course this year that helped me understand more about my relationship with money and my blocks with money and creating budgets and things like that. So that was super, super helpful. So anything like that, I think, would be a huge step.
Yeah. I want to come back to that. Sheetal, you were saying something.
I was just to share that involving children, like my children, they have their own accounts, bank accounts, and any money that they get, any gifts or anything. So I have to teach them. So I have design books, and the samples get all messed up, so I give them $1 per book if fix it. So then they have their own log, and they they enter it, and they'll say, okay, I fixed 2 books, so you owe me $2 or $3. And it's not a lot of money, but it's just telling them, like, if I need to buy something, they will tell me in a store when I know you can buy it, but you owe me $5 because I worked for you. So I think that awareness is also really helpful. They understand that $5 is not easy. Like, just because there is money, nobody is just going to give them $5 for free. And I think we really, and I mean, when I say we, it's like more people really need to imbibe children at a very early age. I grew up, the reason I do, because I grew up very carefree. I was in a very protected environment, and like, I did not worry about finances till I had to pay for my wedding. And I'm like, oh, okay, wait, what just happened? Like, we don't feel it till we reach that point. And I think the earlier it starts in life, the whole financial responsibility is, I think it is going to really go a long ways for children too.
I actually agree with Shizo there. And in fact, I would go a step further and say schools should introduce financial planning as an absolute necessity
Absolutely.
for every.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Why are they
They
not?
should.
I mean, it's more important than possibly. I mean, no disrespect to scientists and gene splicing, but if we can learn about gene splicing, why aren't we learning the basics of handling our finances? Day-to-day finances is what we need first. Those are the basics.
Yeah.
Most people have a fear relationship with money too.
Yep.
So,
And-
and they
Yeah.
don't understand anything. The stock market, real estate, like their taxes, they don't understand these things. And because they don't learn it in school, they're afraid of it. Very
we are
simple.
taught, we are taught such weird things in school, but like, we were taught knitting, but we were never taught, none of us are taught how to balance our checkbook, how to file our taxes. It's the basics of everyday fine that every one of us has to do it.
Absolutely.
Anyways, we can keep on talking like this forever. Sheetal, I just wanted to give a chance. If you're listening to us, please, feel free to tell us what you think in comments. Give your point of views, your experiences, stories, whatever it is. And with that, Sheetal wants to say something very important.
Very important is when we talk about this whole school should implement this, right? There was a project in my children's school last year, which was I was in. They gave them $1 million. Like, you have $1 million, and now you have to spend it, and you have to make a sheet of your project, of your expense sheet, on where you have spent your $1 million, and you need to put links in there. So my son went and he picked out a $850,000 home, and he said, "Oh, that I already spent $850,000. Now I just have this much money left." So they actually put him through exercise where the whole Excel sheet needs to add up to $1 million, and they had to go looking for, okay, I bought furniture, I bought this, I bought a car, and I bought this. So it was a really good exercise, and I did write to their the teacher that they should do more these things, and I really hope they implement that. I mean, it was like random numbers that the kids came up with, but they got the idea that okay, this is what I have and this is what I need to manage. I think it would be really fun for more kids to do that.
And I have heard in some schools they have such programs now, and if you get good grades, you actually get more money in your bank, and that way you can that if you put in hard work, you can make more money. And I'm sure we can keep on talking about financial and emotional planning forever. Maybe we should have some additional sessions just focused on finance and just focused on emotional really soon. With that, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And thank you for sharing so candidly. Like, not just telling everyone what is the best case scenario, but telling about all the bloopers and all the things that we do wrong.
Thanks, Purnima.
Thank you. And with that,
Purnima. Thank you, everybody.
Next live, we are going to have a fabulous woman talk to us one-on-one. Her name is Marisa Porges. And I should have added Dr. Marisa Porges. It's my mistake. I'm going to correct it before she sees it. And she has worked at White House as a cybersecurity and national security authority. And she's going to talk to us about what? About how to raise girls, how to build in the muscle of, all these things that we are talking about now in our 30s and 40s and 50s. She is going to talk about how to build that muscle early and how to train girls to face the life in every sense and make them more powerful and use their powers effectively. So be there, everyone. It's going to be really fun. And she is an amazing speaker. I talked to her one time and she is just amazing. And also she has served in the military also. She used to be, I mean, the list goes on. I just gave a few highlights. And she's right now heading a school for girls. So
that's cool.
See you then. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone who joined on screen and off screen. And I learned a lot and hope
Everybody.
to. Rajni wanted to say thank you. So I gave. And Diana has already left, or what happened? Anyways, lots of hugs. And
I'm having
Thank
some
you.
technical
Virtual
difficulties.
hugs to you too.
Bye bye.
yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.